Good morning. It's an honor for us to have here Mr. Yann Wehrling. Thank you for the honor of joining us here at the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy in Berlin. We would like to ask you a few questions just to hear your opinions on some very important issues. So the first one will be, what would be your definition, or what do you think cultural diplomacy is?
Bit difficult for me to answer because it's a new concept for me. I think in reading these two words that you are speaking about a manner of organized debate, perhaps in Europe, in the world, I don't know, between each cultures, and imagine that with culture we can speak about new things, not only geopolitical things or serious things. I think with a point of view very prudent. I just think that culture can be a way to speak new things who are not ordinarily put on the debate when it's traditional diplomacy. I think it's something like that.
Yeah, a good
I would
tool.
think that. I would hope it's that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And how do you think that it can help, in which ways can it help solving problems and raising understanding between nations? And if you maybe had some examples that you ran into?
I don't have just no example, but I think that there are a lot of conflicts in the world. Not too much in Europe, but in the rest of the world. Conflicts about incomprehension about difference between cultures. I think especially about religious cultures and difficulties to speak with culture or Muslims cultures. There is a problem today in Europe with Muslims cultures, and we have to use cultural way to have a better comprehension of Muslim cultures. In Europe, especially in the rest of the world too. Because today I think there are less or more things who are saying about Muslims who are, I think, dangerous for the peace, global peace. So in a cultural way, I think we can find solution and way to speak to each other and have a better manner of resolve the problems we have today to put, because it's an example, but I think there are other examples in the world who we can see that some culture in several countries are not very good, well known in other countries, and we have to mix a little bit more and organize these exchanges. I know that several countries are organizing some programs to visit their countries and selected peoples and leaders in several other countries. United States makes that with several people and leaders in a lot of countries to visit United States and have a better comprehension of what is United States. A European community makes the same thing. People doesn't know very well what is this kind of program. It's very important for continents to organize this type of visit for leaders. I think that if a leader from a country in development is coming in the United States or coming in Europe to see what is really in reality this Occident, he can go back in his country and speak about this in not positive way, but just in an objective way. That's very important.
Yeah. And what do you think about the economic situation in Europe now? And do you think that ecological and green development can have an impact to improve the economic situation in Europe?
What I think is that I'm not sure of that, but it's just a point of view. I think that we had a model, an economic model in Europe, globally in all the world, an economic model who was who thought that we had enough resources, natural resources, to grow and grow and grow and grow again. And I think that what is going on today with the economic crisis could have a link with this ecological situation of resources who are coming less. I think of petrol, oil, fossil fuels, but also a lot of new materials, raw materials, copper, zinc, sand. All these raw materials are coming at an exploitation at limits. So I think the economic crisis today has to think the future in a way we think the planet has limits. And I think Europe especially has an advance in this reflection because of what we did about climate change, the politics we put, and this advance has to be used to build a new economic model based on this system based on renewable energy, circular economy, reusing materials who are already used, not even search this material in the nature, but reuse. And that's a new model. And if we put a lot of money, research on this direction, I think we can be leaders in the world in this new model of economy, and then have a new growth, economic growth based on green growth. So, voilà.
Thank you.
And speaking still of environmental issues, the 2020 targets is a real challenge in terms of climate and energy policies. And do you think that the objectives that are stated are reachable by 2020? And how exactly this strategy can concretely create green jobs?
What we can see today is that Europe will reach these goals 2020. It's globally very positive on fight against climate change. We will reach the objectives. We will reach the objectives of renewable energy. It's not very clear about energy efficiency. Perhaps we have to make more. But the question, and the question of green jobs, I read everywhere that it creates a lot of green jobs. The balance between the jobs who disappeared and the new jobs were created with this strategy, I think it's zero. I think that we just have the job were destroyed were created in the green growth, but the balance is zero. I'm not sure we created a lot of green jobs, but the challenge today is to know, it's the theme of the debates today, the challenge is to know 2020, it's tomorrow. It's really in short term. And we have to think today on what we will do after that. What will be the new strategy of Europe in a world context, not only in Europe context, and how we will build a strategy who will make in Europe an economic area based on green industries. Because today we, as I said, we reach the goals on 2020, but the traduction in green industry is not really here. We have to build that now. China, United States, Brazil are developing an industry on green industries, and we are not very offensive on this strategy, and we have to make a priority on this objective in the new program we will build after 2020, after 2020.
You have recently been in Paris to defend your project, Urban Farm. Can you explain to us what the concept of this project is and what it can bring in local population? What are the benefits that can...
Okay. Yes, it's a new concept. We think that, as I said it today, we have to integrate a new idea about raw material, about the necessity to think that we have a limit in the planet, and that food is a part important of this problem. Food, I think it's about 30% of what we spend each other every day in everything we buy today, all the day. 30% is for food or product around food. So environmental impact of food consumption is very important, and we have to imagine solution of proximity to make sort of people can consume a product while not very far from them. So one of the solutions, it's not the only solution, one of the solutions is to rebuild a production of food near the towns. In the towns, but not a lot of place, but near the towns, and especially vegetables. I know that in Germany, in München, near München, they made this experimentation for several years, and it's very, very positive today. So I just want to propose that every big city make a politic consist in create a sort of fields around the towns where we are in priority producing vegetables. That's the idea. And I think it's not very difficult. And also positive impact is not only to make proximity between people and food, and reducing CO2 emission because of the transport of the food. The other impact is, as you know, the water you are drinking at home is collected in an area near from the cities, and if the agriculture is made in this part where you are taking the water is an agriculture with putting a lot of bad things in the field. I think pesticides and things like that. You have a cost to make the water good. And if you are making vegetables in a natural way of produce, you are reducing the cost of depolluting the water. So it's another impact positive for a town like Paris or mentioned big towns.
Thank you.
I've heard it's also used in developing countries a lot.
Sorry?
It's also used to foster local development in developing countries.
Absolutely.
Urban farms. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It was an honor and a privilege to have you here with us. And thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.